Get your hands in the air now. Right now, right now. I said it goes like this. Her name was Lois Lane, and it wasn't their fault. They couldn't help but gawk when she walked into the room. She had on cheap perfume, some kind of jealous gloom. These boys would act like they would laugh, but I could tell they wanted to follow her back to her room. As for myself, I put the notion right on the shelf. How hard it is to be blown away, 'cause I could clearly not withstand the damage of falling for Miss Lois Lane. She started walking out, walking out, walking out, when I decided to plead for her heart. She shine, shine. They would stare and you know why, all dolled up like it was prom night. And I can't help but think of her right now, right now. 'Cause her name was Lois Lane, and it wasn't their fault, their fault. They couldn't help but gawk when she walked into the room. She had on cheap perfume, some kind of jealous gloom. These boys would act like they would laugh, but I could tell they wanted to follow her back to her room. 'Cause her name was Lois Lane, her name. As for myself, I put the notion right on the shelf. How hard it is to be blown away. I clearly could not withstand the damage of falling for Miss Lois Lane. My name is Clark, and I love her.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Aloha Friday, and happy Aloha Friday, everyone. We have made it to the end of the weekend. We are here. It is time to relax and chill and just have a really good time, guys. We have a guest in the studio that really is from the future because it's actually Saturday for him, so happy Saturday to that guy. But before we get him into the studio, let me get my wife into the studio. Dee, how are you?
I'm doing good. Happy Aloha Friday to you and everybody else. It's Aloha Friday. No work till Monday.
We're gonna leave, Dee.
Do. I think we got one more eyeball. No, I'm good. He is from the future, but I think it's still Friday for him, but just nighttime.
Oh, okay.
It's nighttime still. But not yet. But he is in the future.
My wife is always correcting me, everyone. So.
No. But yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. Can't wait to talk with him about his latest production collaboration. Awesome video that he put out. So yeah, I'm really excited. What about you, Hinano? How are you?
I'm excited for this too. And for me, that was a movie. I watched a movie, guys. And so, guys, I want to say this right now. Like, for the creators out here that make things on the timeline and put it out there and put a lot of hard work, because like, not only was it a movie, like there were voices in the community. I heard them. Like I heard Doctor Strange. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is Doctor Strange. So like that is phenomenal. And like, you know, if you guys could, I know he has a Buy Me a Coffee, go and support the guy, because I'm sure they put a lot of work into this, as well as everyone else. I'm sure people were tagged in that video. But yeah, phenomenal video. And we'll get into that as well, guys. And also, thank you to everyone watching, or anyone that's watching on the replay on X, YouTube, and also Spotify. We stream on all three. So yeah, appreciate everyone for tuning in. And I say let's get into it. But before we get into it, guys, we will be right back after this commercial break. All right, guys, that was kind of a stall. We literally ran. We had to take our daughter to school. We had a bunch of stuff we had to do this morning, and then my computer had the blue screen of death. So I think we're good now. Let's get our guests into the studio.
All right, let's bring him up.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, Tales from the Future. How you doing, man?
What's
going on?
Tails?
Hello. I'm trying to figure out where to look at my camera because it looks like I'm just, and I'm looking diagonally, guys, but I'm looking at you. All right.
It's
Okay,
okay,
What's
man.
good?
It's the weekend. We finally made it. We're here.
Yes.
And we got you here. And I'm really stoked that you're here because you're an individual that I've wanted to talk to for a long time because I
Mhm.
know you are someone that likes films. And not just films, like you like to create, you like to make these things, and like I'm a person that also likes to create. I mean, I'm not as good as you though, but like as in terms of like the live stream elements and like making a show, I'm more of like I look at you at like you're like the movie director, and I'm more of like the executive producer at a TV show, a very
There it
small one.
is.
You know what I mean? But so like I really want to chop it up with you in terms of all this. But before we even get started, man, how you doing today?
Good, man. Yeah, both of you, thank you so much for having me on. Like, absolute honor. You guys, yeah, like Millie always says it. I kind of get the news from Millie, but it's like, man, them guys are really up in their production game, and yeah, it's an honor. I'm
Trying.
excited.
It's still all held by duct tape, so and baling wire. So,
Yeah.
but we try our best here, Tails. But yes, coming off the heels of your new movie, I'm just gonna call it movie, A
Let's go.
Nightmare in Gotham 2. Very phenomenal. I enjoyed the first one. This is the second one. And D, I'm sorry, I just skipped over you before we even get started because I'm just getting too excited. Go ahead, D.
Oh no, I'm great. We can start talking about it. We have a little monster bear here just growling away, so all good. He's excited too because he's into DC, right? Just like us. So let's go. Yeah, I'm really excited. So continue, Hinano. Go ahead.
Yeah, to kind of like reference what Dee's saying, when my son was born, we put all the because I'm a Batman fan like you, and so like we put all the DC characters first before Marvel, and we just kept swiping, and then he just fell in love with Superman. He just started getting all crazy, and so like we have an artist kind of make a depiction of our family, me as Batman, Dee as Wonder Woman,
Oh,
and my
wow.
daughter, and we'll show you that after because
Yeah,
that
I
is
need to
something
see
that
that.
we give our guests. So you're gonna get one of those
Oh,
NFTs
amazing.
today.
Let's go.
And then my daughter likes Punchline, and so like it blows my mind that like she's like the offbeat that she likes Punchline. You would think like she'd be Supergirl or something like that though. So but yeah, our family, we're a DC family here, and so this is very fitting that you're here to kind of talk with us. So usually what we try to do here, Tails, is we try to figure out the journey where you first started in VeVe, but I want to go like a little bit more farther back than that. I want to know what got you into wanting to make film, to create like this. Did you start like with just kind of like sketching? Were you always into filmmaking? Kind of start on your journey on how it got you to start making this film.
Sure. So it's a bit of a weird one, but and nobody will know this tune. And I spoke to Vibesman recently about this. And I was into drum and bass as a youngster, so I'm like, I've just turned 40. This is when I was like 15, and I was just getting into this genre of music, drum and bass. And I just remember hearing this one song, and it was called "The Nine" by Bad Company. And like, I remember just having my like headphones in, playing like we had cassette, back in the cassette tapes days. Do you know what I mean? Like not even CDs, like actual cassette tapes. And I just remember the way this DJ mixed this tune, and it was so dark, it was so out of the blue. It did something to me that shaped like what I'm into now. Like it was from that moment I was like, right, I want to be a DJ. So I was a DJ from like 14 to 22, and then stopped, went back, and then kind of like fully gave up maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, it was that tune, and I just liked dark imagery. And then I was into Batman as a kid, right, but not massively. And then I just remember seeing The Dark Knight for the first time, and I feel, you know, I don't think it's I think it's pretty common knowledge that The Dark Knight's my favorite film ever. Like, I speak about it all the time in spaces, and yeah, and just like I started when I stopped DJing, I still like had that creative gene, and I'd always like I watch films, go, man, I should go to film school, but I was like, I'm too old now, you know, I need a full-time job, and didn't really know where to start. And then finding VeVe, because of what they have in the vault, you know, with the controls, you can feels like a camera. And I remember, yeah, like whenever I joined, like May 2021, got a couple of Batmans, was obsessed with the Hans Zimmer soundtrack to The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, let me just, you know, go around, and with the music, it will just look better. And like it does, like music just enhances stuff if it's done in the right way. And yeah, and then, you know, fast forward, vault building, meeting tech, Falcon, like you guys, just everybody was doing that, VeVeverse and everything that, you know, being in the beta for like a year and a half. And to be honest, it's kind of a weird one, but like, I remember asking somebody on the team going, how long until this thing releases? Because I need to share some work. And because we were under NDA, couldn't happen. And I was like, no, I know I didn't, you know, it wasn't a threat, but to the certain person, I was like, if this ain't out by this time, I'm going to move on to something else, because I just got to be able to create and share. You know, it's not.
You were getting hungry, I bet. You were hungry in your head.
Yeah, bro. And I mean, you probably heard me on Spaces a few times. And I get this is no slant on VeVe. I know they had to have very strict NDAs, whatever. Anyways, I heard a lot about Unreal Engine, downloaded it. I didn't realize it was free. Like, it's free to download and use, and apparently if you get to like, you know, 1 million in sales in a year, you've got to pay. And that was it. And then, you know, that was 6 months ago. You got somebody like Falcon that just comes up with these like amazing ideas, and yeah, it's just, here we are. We're making films now.
And that's what it is. Like, you know, I mean, and we were kind of talking in the back channels about the creator economy. I've heard a bunch of CEOs say this as well. And I truly believe that this is the space to do it, specifically in Web3, and decentralization and all that stuff. And so, and I love that you said that there was a specific track that kind of led you to the path to get to where you are right now, because I had a similar journey. And so Jurassic Park, it was filmed here, right? And so it was one of my favorite movies. It's filmed on the island I'm from.
Wow.
And then that score.
It's John Williams, right?
Yeah, John Williams. And like, just, you know, I've always wanted scores in my life. Like, you ever imagine, Tales, you walk out of your house and you can just hear a score, you know what I mean? And like, I feel like you would just pump your shit up more. Like, you'd just be like really pumped to do whatever you want. And so
100%.
I'm a big person of soundtracks. Hans Zimmer is another one. I love Bear McCreary, Jerry Goldsmith. And so like all these guys right here. And so I actually, we talked about tapes. I used to buy all the tapes, and I used to listen to them over and over and over again. And I would pretend that I would be like an executive producer in a movie, or a director. And I'd like to make my own films. And so, and, you know, obviously as a kid, you're going to like pretend, right? But
yeah.
And I don't know if you were in the Collectors Hub, but I was describing how I got into filming in high school. I was filming plays, anything I could get my hands on, a camera or a mixing board where I could just make and mix stuff. I was there. And then when I played paintball, I was actually a national paintball ref for a few years, and I did filming for our paintball league. And I traveled the state filming all this stuff. And so that's kind of how it led me down the path to get here. And so like, there's some synergy in our stories. And so I kind of want to like, talk to you about
just quickly. Sorry to cut you off, but do you still have that footage of the paintballing?
I do. And it's actually floating around on YouTube, but if I tell people where it is, I'll get doxxed. So, but it's there. I can share it with you.
I'd love to see it if you could send it privately, like, because
absolutely
already my brain
it's pretty bad. So
well,
it's like so grainy, but it's great though for back in the day.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating to know how, you know, with this new one, trying to figure out how to direct certain bits, like action is different. So I'm assuming with paint, like it's so fast and you've got like
Oh man.
motion blur, but it looks amazing and stuff. So I'd just love to see it. That stuff like
Yeah.
super interests me. So
You know, in fact, there's a scene that because you know, right, whenever you like map out whatever you're trying to make, there's scenes that you map out. And so there was a scene that I filmed called The Battle of the Elements, and it was perfect. It was fucking raining that day, and thunder and lightning. I'm like, this is perfect production value, right?
yeah.
And so I used to I had a Panasonic telereporter, one of those big ass VHS reporters, and I put a JT mask over that. And I just ran out there on the field and I just started filming content. And I got into everything. And so that scene, in fact, I think I edited that scene. It's somewhere on the timeline on X, but my account got clipped.
Oh,
so
I was going to ask
at the
about
account.
that.
Well, I'll find it. I'll send it to you. But like that scene was so perfect because, you know, when you're trying to film something, you want to line stuff up perfectly. And I had like so much people lined up perfectly where you had paintballs going past you. I took a lot of hits that day. I got a lot of welts.
I was going to say, but some war wounds to show for it.
You know, you do it for the content, right? And so, like, I'll try to find that for you. But, anyways, we'll talk about you. Back to where you said that you started getting inspired from that music. What was the first film or content you ever made or produced?
I guess it would just be one of the vaults, right? So the reason I like going back to like soundtrack scores, when I started producing at the end of my DJ kind of career or whatever you'd call it, there was a thing about the genre I made that used a lot of orchestra and a lot of like, it felt like film trailers, right? So when I found VeVe and, you know, I met Tech and Falcon and the Vault Builders and we all had our own little style. The thing I enjoyed the most was just going, what track, like, am I going to use for this? Because that would just dictate how everything looks to me then. Anyway, and you know, I have a playlist of just scores that were very similar to what I was making as well. So there was that, you know, transition and stuff like that. But I haven't answered your question. I guess it would have been one of like the first, one of the first vaults. But then I wouldn't even call that a film. What's the first film? I don't know. But around that time, you know, it's in the VeVe time. Definitely wasn't doing anything visually before I found VeVe.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you probably know, like I played a lot of poker in my life, so that was like a long part of the time before finding VeVe. And then when I did, I was just like, oh, visuals and, you know, recording, and let's see what happens with this. And again, here we are.
Awesome. I'm gonna pass it on to DD. Go for it.
When he was when you were talking about you know, how you have like a list of scores and different orchestra material and stuff, that also reminded me of when before we started our like live streaming, we used to do recorded interviews, and Hinano would have to go back, and however long days or hours it took him to edit and produce, he would that's what he told me too, was he used like the background music kind of set the tone and how to take like what direction to take that production. And I never really I paid attention to music, but never really like that much until I met Hinano. And just like now when I watch movies or, you know, shows, I'm like listening even more now in like the background music that they use. I pay more attention to like certain lighting. And I'm like, I never would have just like thought to, you know, pay attention to these things because I'm just here to watch a movie. And
so, it all blends into one, right? Until you know about it, and then you're like, that light's out of place.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really cool that, you know, you guys are, I mean, different in your styles, but kind of have some similarities. Like your guys' mind is just so creative. And like regarding the movie that you dropped today, like how long, like, can you tell us like the process of how long it took? Like, you don't have to like tell all the secrets and details.
I want to. This is, you know, I'm glad you asked, because I'd love to talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're in spaces, everyone wants to talk about marketing it. Anyways, For this one, I remember getting the script. I was out with friends around Christmas, having a Christmas drink, and Falcon sent me the script. He was like, "Here it is," and I was like, "Damn, okay." I went home, read it, and I was like, "Man, he's, you know, without Falcon, I have to do this. Like, you know, we're so good together, like collaborating, just the way we know how each other work." So it will send me the full script, and I'll just go, right, I know what I can do, what I might struggle with, etc. And then I'll go and just, you know, shoot some shots. I send them to him. He gives me feedback, and then we go down until we both agree, yeah, this is it. With this one though, because obviously in the last one you probably noticed that none of the characters' mouths move or they're talking. We do all the vocals when they're, you know, behind them or what have you. But Falcon was like, we cannot do this anymore without them actually talking. So I was like, okay, I'll look into what I can do. Because again, I'm still very, very early stages of Unreal Engine. Like, I only downloaded it in September.
You can't tell.
Like, dude, I would think you've been at it for years, man. Just
thank you. But you know what? Like, I'm sure you're both like this because you're creators. You're always critiquing yourself. Otherwise, you won't get better. And there aren't loads, but you know, I search fan films on Unreal Engine on YouTube and looked at a load of other guys. And some of the guys, it's like, it looks real. It looks really real. I think now that we're using the metahumans, you know, like Doctor Strange's character, he's basically what we call a metahuman in Unreal Engine, Casual's character. And obviously we used a different Batman this time, but you could just see next to him, you're just like, oh man, the metahumans look so much better than the models. So at one point, once we've done this series, me and Falcon are going to work on our own IP. Like, he's got an idea that he's already told me about. And I was like, that way we can do, you know, 100% metahuman to make this stuff look really real.
No, I love that. Like, and I love the fact that you guys are wanting to, like, you know, push the boundaries. And I 100% agree. Like, you know, whenever you're making something, or at least for me, and I'm a big critic of myself, like, you know, I kind of rewind what D is saying. Like, when we started doing this, and we were the podcast, I would spend hours just editing film, and like, you know, I'm always critiquing how shitty it was. I'm like, oh gosh, this is terrible. This is terrible. But then, like, after a while, you kind of get that out of your head, and you just want to, like, make sure that, okay, this is what I got, pen to paper. This is what's going to happen. And then if it is bad or it's good, you want to just keep making it better and making it better.
Exactly.
Push the boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, and put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because that's the only way you really learn, in my opinion, for me specifically. And so I just wanted to do more, you know, like now we have like 7 shows, and like,
yeah, man, you guys are not, like, it's crazy.
But like, you know, we wouldn't be able to do 7 shows 2 years ago, right? Just like maybe like a few years ago, you wouldn't be able to make this movie because you had to go through that progression. You had to go through that the grime, right, to get to where you're at. And that's just pushing the boundaries. Like 7 shows, like now I want to do 17, right? That's the next thing in my head. Like, what's the next thing to push the boundary? And so, like, a good example is now you know how to make your films. You have like a format. You follow probably a set of rules that you've established over the years. And that's the same for here. Like for me now, I have templates. I have a workflow. And so like these 7 shows, it really is not that hard anymore, because those 2 years or whatever years you progress, you put in the work to come up with your craft. And so it's a phenomenal thing. And so back to your craft, let's talk about your movie right here, because there's a lot of elements that I see in here. And what was really cool right off the bat, I'm like, I could tell who Falcon was, right? You know, I'm like, oh, that's Falcon.
Yeah.
You can tell it's Falcon. I'm like, holy shit, that's Doctor Strange. That's pretty damn bad. I couldn't tell that was Max, though. I could not tell that was Max.
So, a little bit of backstory about Max. So in the last one, he did one line, which was that I had it under control. And I spoke to Max. I was like, right, we're doing a new one. But I was like, right, I ain't gonna lie, you've got to really act your ass off here, because there's certain bits that if you're not intense, and there is one line, but anyways, I digress. If you're not really intense, then it might not work. And he was like, Tales, I ain't gonna lie, I hate my voice. Like hearing back doing the Nightwing thing, I was like, right. So that is actually, what's his name? Donnie from New York on 11 Labs, which is an AI filter that you can put over an already recorded voice. So that's why Max sounds different. But then it got to the point where me and Falcon were changing the script so much, and I didn't want to constantly have to go back to Max. So Nightwing is actually me, Max, and Falcon.
Okay.
is a mixture of all of us.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's a bit, and so this is so random, but me and one of my IRL friends laugh about this scene out of The Dark Knight Forever. And there's a bit in The Dark Knight where they're on the boat, and you've got all the extras, and one of them's like, "Let's put it to a vote." And it's a line in The Dark Knight that me and my mate take the mickey out of, like take the piss out of now. And there's one line, and it's Falcon that said it. It's not me, Falcon, if you're watching. So, you know, if it ruins the movie, mate, it's you. I'm joking. Falcon's my guy. But when Nightwing says to Alfred when they're in the car chase, and he goes, Alfred, how many have escaped? We just couldn't get that right. It's such a, you read it and you go, that's such a simple line. But every time I hear Nightwing say, Alfred, how many have escaped? My skin crawls. So I have that one line that, yeah. But so, yeah, sorry, again, I digress. But Max, yeah, shout out to him, man, because he's so helpful. Like, I asked him for it. He had everything, you know, within an hour. Like, the same as Doctor Strange. Like, Doctor Strange, his introduction into this, when the guy turns around and he starts talking, I'm like, that feels to me like an iconic intro. And yeah, he killed it, bro. Because the way I got Doctor Strange involved, I think I was just asking on the space, and Casual was like, "You should hit up Doctor Strange. He's been wanting to get into voice acting," and I'm like, "Perfect." And when I sent him the script and just his lines and whatnot, like he sent me back, you know, because he's probably got the second most amount of dialogue out of everyone, like nearly all of it at once, and there was only one tiny bit of one line that I needed changing. Everything else was what he sent me first time, bang, done. Like, he just got it. So yeah, shout out to Doctor Strange, bro. He's good people.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know what I love about this is this was all coordinated through the internet, through means like this, right? And it goes back to that creator economy, right? Like, anybody can do this now. Well, not anybody. I mean, you have to have some imagination, and you also have some structure. I mean, you just said that Falcon made the script. I mean, you got a bunch of community members together. I mean, KC was in there. It was such a really cool thing to like see this all kind of culminate together and watch this on film. And like, it's kind of like it's very gripping at the very end, because I did not expect that person to show up. So kind of give me the idea of the premise. Was it Falcon that came up with this premise? Was it like a group effort?
And I really appreciate you saying that person, just in case anybody hasn't watched it, so we don't spoil it. But I really want to talk, because we, you know, let me go back to the start. Originally, I said to Falcon, I was like, look, I'm getting into Unreal Engine now. I'm going to make a Batman thing. I was thinking about mixing the chasing from the Penguin, from the Batman that you've seen me doing the VeVe, and the Dark Knight truck flip screen, and somehow meshing them into one. And he was like, yeah, that's great, but why don't we come up with something original? I was like, bro, I'm not a writer. Anyways, he went and saw the 40th anniversary of the movie of the person that shows up in the end. And he rang me the next day and he just went, what if we do this? And I went, I fucking love it. Like, he was like, this has obviously never been done before. But again, without spoiling it,
yeah.
As a fan of DC, were you like, oh, I don't really like that? And I want people to be honest, because I know it's controversial. I personally think it works really well, but I'm very interested to see Hanano and Dee, obviously, as DC fans, like, why have you put him in here? Or were you like, no, that was good?
So for me, I'm a person without spoiling exactly, and I try not to do any of that right now. So like without spoil, because I could say something else that could really tell you why. I actually like what you guys did. I actually love what you guys did. And let's just say I'm a person that likes to see reality bend. You know what I mean? And so when you incorporate that into a storyline that it's so, and a character that's so iconic, and then you bend reality to that end, it's pretty cool. And so it kind of goes back to what you were saying about like how you want to do original stuff now, because now by doing something like that, you guys open so many doors. I mean, so many doors. You could literally bend the fabric to many things, if you know what I'm saying. But what do you think 100%. About that, D?
I loved it.
Without giving it
Execution
away,
is
D. Without giving it away.
I know. Execution is perfect, and just going with the first and the second film that dropped today, the theme, it all ties in. It's not, I mean, it is different, but it ties in. And if you, like I said, if you watch number one and if you watch number two, you will see what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It sticks to like the whole dark
premise
theme.
of and I'm really like, you know, this is what me and Falcon have been looking forward to the most, is going, what will people think of that? Because in when we did the first episode, and obviously we already knew who the main villain is, we did a space with Baines, and I was asking people, and I was like, who do you think it was that killed Harlequin at the beginning? And, you know, probably killed or did whatever to the Batman Who Laughs at the end when you hear him scream. And everybody was just like, Joker, Bane, like it was just all Batman. And even though I was saying, like, just think outside the box, because said person is actually in episode 1, but he's kind of hiding in plain sight, but you would never know unless I told you. So, like, I don't know if you remember the scene where Batman Who Laughs spins away and goes after Nightwing falls off the truck. And there's a guy walking across the road and he kind of faints. And then somebody at a car and he kind of like blasts his horn. That's that person. And then there's also like, what do we call them? Like the big why am I not being able to think of the word? In New York, you get billboards. There we go. In the last one, we had a load of billboards because you could use moving GIFs and all of that stuff. And there's one of a very famous line, and then there's something that's said at the end. So we were given Easter eggs all the way, but because it's, again, I don't want to say it without swearing, because
you have Easter eggs everywhere. You guys are pretty good with your wordsmith here, so
yeah, and
it's really in plain sight. So
I just hope people like that kind of, because I'm telling you, bro, me and Falcon nerd out so much. We're just like, what if we put this little thing here that references this film from 35 years ago? No, yeah, do that. That'll look sick. You know what I mean? So we're doing that a lot. But yeah, no, I'm glad that's the, I'm looking forward to seeing.
For me personally, a DC fan, like the way the second film ended, it was perfect, because then it made me go watch it again, because I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? This makes a ton of sense now. So and so now the next question I have is the Batman, right? Like the certain Batmans or the certain characters you chose to actually put in the film. Like, what made you choose that specific Batman? Because obviously there's a car in there, so
Yeah. So in the first one, like, again, when I was so new to Unreal Engine, and I watched this video, and this person was like, oh, if you want all these kind of characters, go here. So I went there, and that's where I got like Batman Who Laughs, Nightwing, the original Batman, and stuff like that. And then literally, it must have been the day before the last one dropped, I remember going on YouTube and putting in Unreal Engine 5 Batman fan films. And I found this one, I was like, that guy's got the Batman Batman. I was like, where did he get that from? So I went scrolling the internet, and I found it's on, again, it's a site called CG Trader, where you can buy, they're not digital collectibles, right? They're just
skins.
Assets. Like, skins and game ready figures. Like,
an avatar that you can use to like rig or whatever in Unreal.
Exactly. But then I found this guy called Cavity who did the Batman, and then I went and scrolled him through his library, and I went, this guy's got it. So he did the Batterson Batman, Bane, when you see that Jester kind of Joker, he did the main villain, and funny enough, he hadn't done, when I started this film, he hadn't done that villain yet. And I messaged him on Saturday because, like, I'd searched all over the internet for that certain character, and I've got 4, but none of them were that good. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if we use this character, we're gonna have to hide it in the shadows and stuff like that. So, anyways, I messaged this guy, and I was just like, how do I word this without just? So I was like, I just sent him an appreciation message, sent him my film, gone, I've used all your characters in here, but I really love this one. And he was like, oh, I just thought there was loads out there. They're all terrible. You're an incredible 3D artist. do it for the fans. And he did. That model you see after I sent him that message was within 3 days. And I was like, bro, you have nailed it. So yeah, shout out to Cavity, 3D artist that you can find on CG Trader. And he, you know, it's funny, I laugh with Millie about this. And VeVe are very good now with their collectibles, right? But you remember there was a time it was like, look at this collectible's face. And everybody would say, oh, it's so
Electra?
hard. Yeah, there it is. Shout out to Electra and the Rogue.
The Rogue.
The Mick Jagger.
Yeah, but do you know what? It's probably going to be that one that does make all the money because of how silly it looks. Anyway.
Yeah, you know,
true.
the memes usually hit, right?
It's like a meme.
Yeah.
But when I saw this, guys, I was just like, man, that can't make faces is, you know, that's not right. You're just, but they're really good now. And again, it's not a slant at V, but I was just so impressed because he's got like 400 of these things from every film you can think of, and they all look just like the actual character. So that's why I swapped up the Batmobile as well. Like some of, you know, some things like, oh, it's a different Batman, different Batmobile, but I'm just learning and just doing whatever.
You can have more than one car. You can have more than one car, you know?
Yeah.
It's your universe, right?
What's your favorite Batmobile, by the way? Let me ask you that question.
Oh man, it's got to be Keaton. It's got to be 89.
Yeah.
It's got to be Keaton for me. But mainly because, and here's the reason why I'm so biased, because that was my first motion picture Batman for me.
Same.
Right? You know, I remember watching in the theater with my dad, and then I remember, like, I don't know if you over the pond if they had like pay-per-view at hotels, but I remember also watching that also at pay-per-view with my dad. My parents were they were Pacific artisans. They would travel the world, and so like I would travel the state with them, and we'd always be in hotel rooms, and so pay-per-view. And I watched that Batman movie so many times in those hotel rooms with my dad, that it's just been ingrained that is my Batman. And you know, it depends. Like, you know, one of my best friends, like, he's a big Batman fan, but for him, that is not his Batman. That is his Bruce Wayne for some reason.
Okay.
You know, yeah, you know what I mean, right? Like,
that was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, right. That's his Bruce Wayne, but for me, that's always going to be my Batman. I didn't really like seeing him in the Flash movie that came out, but you know, it happened.
I will not watch that film.
Oh, don't,
because I've heard that Nicolas Cage. Yeah, I don't want to go into it. I'll just get angry. But I agree with you. 89 Batman was my Batman as well. Like, my two older brothers would watch it. We had it on VHS. Yeah.
But the best trilogy is Nolan's trilogy, in my opinion, because it was so grounded, and I really like things that are grounded. That's a little bit more to realism. That's my favorite Joker, and you know, some may say that it ended on a whimper, but I thought it was just perfectly done all around. But yeah, The Dark Knight, and I remember watching that with but you remember, D? Remember, we came from a party from the beach, and we went straight to go watch The Dark Knight with our buddies. And it was.
I remember.
I was so lit in that theater, and then all of a sudden, just watching that masterpiece was just,
dude. Oh, so epic! When you're like in a certain state of mind, it is so good.
But
so
I just want to, sorry to digress slightly, but have you two heard about this new Ryan Coogler film, Sinners?
I have. Problem with a baby is we haven't been able to get out to go watch movies, but I've heard about it. I want to see it, and yeah.
The reason I bring it up is because I watched it on Wednesday, and within 10, you know, the way you felt the first time you watched The Dark Knight, or you're watching it unfold, within the first 20 minutes, you just know this film's going to be crazy. I haven't felt like that since The Dark Knight, and I felt that watching Sinners. So.
Oh man, okay. Because a few people have been telling us that in the chat, like, go watch Sinners. I'm like, okay, we gotta figure this out, because it sounds like we need to. Yeah. Hey, I'm down. I mean, he doesn't know what's happening.
Well, he sounds like a goblin right now. So.
Yeah.
But yes, and sorry, just going back to your about your favorite Batmobile and saying the Keaton one. Falcon said to me this time, he was like, can we use the Keaton Batmobile? I was like, and I have it, but yeah, it just, then I don't want to nerd out too much, but certain vehicles are harder to animate than others. Whereas the Batterson one, obviously we had the Batterson Batman, so I was like, nah, Falcon, the Keaton one's gonna have to wait for a bit, bro. It's gonna have to wait for a little bit. But yeah, so you might see the Keaton Batmobile in the last one. But yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, mine's the Keaton, and then I really love the Tumbler, like the Dark Knight one, and also, you know, I think it's probably the best Batmobile scene was in the last one, which was the Penguin chasing.
Yeah, that one felt more real, but like I agree with the Tumbler because it was just so uniquely different than any other Batmobile, and the way that they brought it out in the film, it was like this was something that was an R&D for something specifically different for military uses and stuff like that. So I really love that aspect because it really kept that film grounded. There's so many good things about that film, but let's talk about your film in terms of how long it took. Like because I don't mess around in Unreal. I just recently got into the VeVe verse, but that pales in comparison. No offense on VeVe compared to what I'm seeing here. So, kind of give us like a breakdown on what it takes to, and please nerd out. That's what this is for.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, because I'm really fascinated by this. Like, what from pen to paper. How does this what's the process to make this work? Because you have to like do a script, then you have to like render all these things. You got to get community members involved. You got to do recordings. Like, kind of fill us in like the skinny on A to B.
So again, Falcon gave me the script, and I read the first scene, which is, you know, the two thugs arguing over the car, and I was like, right, we're gonna have to use these metahumans. So I looked into that, and then it's doing motion capture, right? I thought, motion capture sounds expensive. Sounds like you've got to get a suit and a green screen. But there are these free options where it's called metahuman animating. It's just an app on your phone, and you would, like, you know, just as I've got my phone here, you know, say the lines. So I'll get the lines from the first actor that sent me it. Again, I don't want to spoil it because he hasn't been about for a while, and I think it's a nice little special treat that he showed up. Shout out to that dude. Learn the lines, record them, right? Then transfer it onto Unreal Engine. Then pick a character that is going to be the face of it. So, you know, like, it's not modeling, you get loads of presets, probably like Ready Player Me, but a bit more detail with metahumans. You then put them in, you then, like, there's so much stuff in there. So, for example, with the VeVe verse, right? You know, when you film something, I'm assuming you guys are using like OBS. You get your scene, you know your walkway, so you click record and you're like, right, stop, brilliant, I can edit that with another shot from a different angle. With this, you can keyframe the cameras to do everything at the right time. So I was really excited to do like the motion capture. I was like, right, but all of a sudden, the heads started floating off the bodies. I'm just like,
what?
I was literally about to click render, it looked perfect, and all of a sudden, like, so I had to look in, you know, it took weekends of going, why does this happen and how do you fix it? Because in Unreal, you have to use code sometimes. And I'm not a coder. I'm just like, YouTube. So, for example, the very first scene till, you know, the Batmobile kind of shows up, you know, what's that, like a minute and a half. And I was working on it every day, and that probably took a month and a half.
Shit.
Yeah. So,
Whoa.
And I remember the last one took 2 months, right? Because we didn't have any of that, or a month and a half. Oh. And I was like, Falcon, I hope this is going to be good, bro, because we're going to be at this for months. But yeah, it's just the learning process. And yeah, I think the metahumans look really good. Again, when you see Doctor Strange coming, like, and the way the light glints off his, sounds a bit pause, whatever, but glints off his eye, looks incredible. So yeah, but it's worth it. And sorry, again, going back to what you said earlier about, if something's not hard when you're creating, like, you know you've done well if you've completed something hard. And I said to Falcon, I went, bro, this one was tough. And he was like, but that's good, right? Yeah. Because if it was easier than the last one, then we failed. I was like, yeah, you're right.
And you know how to do it now. You have your process now. And so, like, going forward now, it's kind of like you're incorporate the process and then push the boundaries even more for yourself.
Yeah. And now, again, because you've seen who, you know, the kind of twist and who the main villain is, now you can think we're just going to go super crazy in
bananas.
In the episode. Yeah.
So we go back to scoring, right? I mean, you know, you're a DJ, and so I'm listening to the score of this, like every element, every twist and turn, every second. It seems like you methodically thought of the right sound that goes with the the scene and the vision, even the action, even when you see like certain like things get thrown in the air. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I pay attention to all those things, especially the sound, because I love sound, and I'm like, my goodness, like how long did it take you to do the score? And so like for me personally, just to give an example, is sometimes I have to have the sound before I have the visuals, because for me, I grew up in a musical. I played music as a kid. My parents live with me, so I hear music every single day. It's been a part of my life. So music for me helps me create. Whether if I'm in the VeVe verse just making something and I'm just blasting music, or if I'm really wanting to create a scene or a show or a vibe. So kind of like for you, like when you were scoring this and every single one before that, you know, what was the inspiration by the sound? Do you make your own sound? Because over here we make our own sound. Obviously we use AI because of monetization, and plus you want to have your own style and your own sound and your own brand, right? So like specifically, like I hear like Dark Knight vibes, but this is your sound. So kind of give us the idea of this sound.
So yeah, it's just back in the Vault days when I was making the Vaults, I didn't really understand about copyright. So I would just like, I like this tune on Spotify, I put it on Twitter, Elon never kicked off, right? But with these ones, I was like, I can't use, I need to find somewhere that does the music I need and it's not going to get copyrighted. So I stumbled along artlist.io. You see all the adverts all the time on YouTube. And it was, normally I hate those kind of adverts, but it made me go on the site and check them. And I was like, wow, their library is crazy. So you only pay £10 a month, unlimited music that you can use in your videos. That is,
give you licenses.
Exactly. And so I was just like, I would type in horror, Batman-esque, epic, orchestra, and I would just sit and listen to 200 tunes plus. And every time I was like, I'd only need to hear a certain thing and just go add to favorite. And then when it comes to this, I'm just like, I'll just try different ones, and then I'll instantly know. Like I knew hearing the tune, the Batmobile set piece, we'll call it, towards the end. I remember hearing that tune and going, that's going to be the end of the film, leading up to crescendo, because I can just see Batman and Nightwing in the Batmobile arguing over this tune. And so, yeah, it's because I used to do music, it's kind of natural to me, because when I used to DJ, I would see visions, right? Like colors and stuff like that. So when I took it over to here, as soon as I got the tune, I was just like, I know how to edit to this. I know how to make this work. So, but I will say there's a bit of original scoring from me, which is from Doctor Strange's intro to the aftermath of what you see on the CCTV. That is just taking samples, and how you would make a tune, just place them in time and just add little different bits. So that was, I suppose, my own score in that part, but the rest is from artlist.io.
So essentially you made a template using a specific track and then you modified it and made it your own.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just taking this like bass drum, this one horn, just adding it in the audio above each other to it. I mean, it's, there's only about 5 or 6 samples, but but then everything else, it's just on artlist.io. They've got some incredible artists over there. Hearing tunes, I'm just like, this is nuts, like really, really good music. So yeah, shout out to that site.
And it immerses you in the film. It really immerses yourself in this film, and it draws you in. And we go back to like scores, right? I mean, I grew up listening to John Williams, and and I was one of those kids where it's like, hey, what are you listening on your Walkman, right? Walkman. And my friends tease me. It's like, what the hell is this? This is a Jurassic Park theme song. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm getting in the mood.
Well, but like my imagination would go off, and still till this day, like for me, I like using AI now because I like to really create my own score, my own sound, and Dee will attest. Like whenever our baby goes to sleep, I'll sit in this seat for hours and just listen to music because I got to make a new show, like VeVe Radio, right? Like they have their show with Biggest Bro and Raven, and so like what's it going to sound like? What do they want it to sound like? They want a reggae vibe. Okay, if they want a reggae vibe, cool. Like what's that vibe going to be? Or like this other show where it's a little bit more of like Web3 and tech. You have to have that techie sound. So like or all that other kind of stuff. Or back in the day, I think it was an interview that we did with D when I wasn't the host. It was the biggest fro and Evolve. I really wanted to like incorporate how D came from, because D came from a little small island, a little speck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I really took elements from Lost. And I don't know if you are a fan of Lost. Okay,
I love that
so
show so much.
I'm a big fan of that composer, Michael Giacchino. And so I actually met him in real life because my friend was a grip for Lost. And so I went to a wrap-up party for season 2. I got to see the hatch. I got to hang out with like the cast.
See the hatch, bro, that's crazy.
Terry O'Quinn is such a cool G. Like that guy is so cool. I hung out with him the whole night.
My favorite character in Lost, by the way, Locke
was Locke.
The best.
He is such a down-to-earth guy. The rest of them, I didn't really vibe with them too much. But like, yeah, Terry O'Quinn was super cool. But I remember we were on this, what they call a party boat, where basically, it's like a stage on water. And we were just hanging out, talking story. And they had like props over there. They had like certain, pieces from the others. It was really cool just to kind of like experience that. But like, I took elements of that sound because Lost had such a beautiful sound, and like I don't think that show would have been successful if it didn't have that sound. And so I wanted to incorporate that sound because there were some beautiful noises in that sound. Like there was chaos and beauty in the sound, and so I wanted to incorporate that into Dee's story because there's some chaos and beauty in her story. And so there's certain scores that I made, or I didn't make. I'm sorry. I did the same thing like you. There was upbeat.io, and I found certain tracks that had that sound. And so now I'm making that sound for our own. And it really brought in that dramatization that you needed whenever Dee talked about when she was young, because she never grew up with electricity or they had to fucking like make rafts to go to school. That's how crazy of where she's from. So going back to yours now, it's like the sound for me was always important to make something like this. And so, shout out to you in the sound. I kind of now want to like go more back in time and see what inspired you as a kid. Was it horror films? Was it superhero films? Like what really got you into this genre?
So funny, and I was thinking about this earlier because I was wondering if you might ask this. And I went for a very weird stage at 10 years old. This probably explains a lot. So I'm the youngest of 4. And I think by the time I came along, my mum and dad were like, just give him what he wants. There's a kind like we've done with them complaining for 3 kids, just whatever. So at 10, I'm like, I want to watch that film with the guy with the 9 fingers. And, my mum would be like, you're 10 years old. I'm like, but yeah. So I went from 10 till 12 watching all the 80s slashers. Then
best slashers ever.
Definitely. But then I kind of went like, completely off horror. And I don't know what I was watching, in my teens, but yeah, I've just always loved dark imagery. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I'm a pretty happy person. I'm not a miserable person or anything, but dark imagery just it's, and so, that happens with the slashers and the horror and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so I grew up more into the unfortunately I grew up in like the Star Trek era. So like I kind of grew up, so I was a very techie kid, very geeky kid. So like my mind was always kind of like structured in that sense. I kind of lived in a box. I was the only child. I was the opposite. So basically, and I wasn't a spoiled child. I grew up in a very poor home. In fact, at one time we were homeless. And so I kind of grew up in a very, very intense childhood because like, you grow up from being homeless to like you're living in like, affordable housing to like you're pretty much wearing like Salvation Army clothes. And that's how I grew up. So it was not until like I want to say maybe in my elementary days, and I don't know if you know what elementary is over here. It's kind of like I believe you're like 11 or 12 when my parents actually started getting they started getting ahead in life. And so that's when I could start collecting things. And that's when I started getting a little bit more things as kids. And so, I really loved immersing myself into comic books. And so that's basically why I'm kind of like doing some of these things right here and really perpetuating the space, is because of my fandoms back then. But I also loved the slasher films, you know, like Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, all those things. I really feel like it's hard for some of these films to duplicate that because they were just so original. And I don't know if you can agree with that too. Like even like the old Aliens, like although the new Alien movie was just pretty badass, I gotta admit, I really enjoyed that. Romulus was great.
Yeah, that was my third favorite after Alien and Aliens. But yeah, I agree with you. That was a certain time, because I'm assuming we're roughly the same age, but we've
43.
had the privilege of having like pre-internet and post-internet.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of stuff changing. But yeah, I love 80s and what I grew up with, and so that's why I love stuff now like they do with Stranger Things. I think is so cool how they incorporate the 80s into what they're doing now.
Yeah, they had that magic to filmmaking, in my opinion, because like now some of the films now, whenever I walk out, I'm like, okay, that was okay, right? But like back in the 80s, and maybe that's just me being biased, it's like I walked out of a film like, damn, that was great. You know what I mean? Like I want to go on an adventure, or if it's a nightmare, I want to experience that nightmare, right? I want to like be entrenched in the films. And like now these days with CGI and all these other things that are kind of like a crutch to all that, I feel like some of it just gets watered down.
They take away some of the element from like actual like real acting because of the whole CGI thing. And I think that's why films that were made like in the 80s, early 90s are so much better, because it's like, well, they didn't really have a lot of technology, so they had to rely on executing that acting, right?
Yeah, practical effects and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And I think we spoke about this recently in Oz's space, but because of the internet, like, so I'll give you an example, right? The film Seven by David Fincher came out in 1994, I believe. The big twist, and sorry guys, 30-year spoiler here. The big twist is that Kevin Spacey, is the villain. Now, David Fincher went to him and went, if we put your name in the beginning credits, everybody's going to know you're the big villain. So can we leave that out? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So when people went to the cinema to see that, they're getting surprised for the first time. Whereas now you get a trailer and it's like, studios are so scared of films failing that they're like, show the audience everything that they're going to see. And it's just like,
they showed the whole film.
Yes, it's like, that's not a trailer. If you're showing it from beginning, middle, end, it's like you gotta leave some stuff out. Otherwise, why pay the however much it is to go and watch the full thing, right? It's
exactly.
Like we don't want to get spoiled.
Studios just get scared these days. But yeah, that's my whole point of like, from then till now, that's why it's so different, and maybe why you don't appreciate films as much, because not as much as a surprise anymore. And you're right, so much is CG. And, obviously I'm making stuff with, CG, but I'm already looking at my stuff and going, how can I make this look more real? Because I hate looking at CG. But shout out to the old films, man. Shout out to the oldie goldies.
And I go back to the oldie goldie Jurassic Park, because I remember watching that trailer, and that trailer was perfect. Because you didn't see much. You knew what was going on with the dinosaurs, right? But they gave you just enough to entice you to want to see it. Because I remember watching that film for the first time. It was in this tiny little ass theater, which was above a Quickie Mart in the east side of the island. The west side of the island. And they would just pack that thing up. They didn't care about occupancy. And so like they would let kids sit on the floor, and they would let you pay to sit on the floor. So I sat on the floor because it was a full house, and it was the best place to sit because there was no heads. You know what I mean? And I watched Jurassic Park sitting on the floor, and I just remember being so immersed. When you saw the is it a brontosaurus that came out?
Yeah, the brontosaurus.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
And that thing, and you just see anyways, you've seen the movie probably 1,000 times.
Sam Neill.
Yeah, Sam Neill. Yeah, he turns his head. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a freaking dinosaur. You know what I mean? But like some of that magic gets taken away now. Like, so you go watch, like, say there's a new Jurassic Park coming out, and hopefully it does justice, because I wasn't a fan of the Jurassic Worlds. Maybe the first one okay, but everything else is just like, what am I watching?
This one looks pretty good though. It looks a bit darker in tone, so I've got But sorry,
it does. But the trailer, like, you know, like there's a way to reinvent this new one by like really giving us a good trailer, like how the old trailer was. Like we know what Jurassic Park is already, right? But like, give us that wonder again. Like I watched that trailer, I'm like, what is this? I see Black Widow. You know what I mean? I just see Black Widow, right?
yeah.
So it's like that's what I see. So I don't know, but it does look good, and I do love it. And I got a question about it, because it's my understanding that's like one of the favorite films across the pond is Jurassic Park for you folks. There's Osmond was telling me there's like Jurassic Park Day over there, and you guys like have cons around that movie.
Yeah, I you know, I'm sure if Osmond told you that is definitely the case. I'm not too sure, but you just reminded me of something funny. Is that when we went to Decon in 2022, there was some dinosaur thing going on near it, and the Jurassic Park theme tune was just on repeat for the whole weekend. So every single time you went out for a
John
cigarette,
Williams.
by the end of it, it's like, I'm sick of this tune, but I do love it.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, listen to Osman and that. He'd know a lot more about that. I'd go to one if there was. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you gotta link up with Oz, and you guys can go and have your dinosaur day.
Yeah, I want to meet him in a few weeks. I'm assuming he's going to be at the UK con, so I'll get to meet Osman for the first time.
Nice. He's a good.
You haven't met him yet?
Nah. Falcon.
Oh, okay.
Falcon's met with him a few times, but
yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, that's gonna be epic. Yeah,
I'm sure he wasn't speaking.
No, he wasn't actually. Just till now. No, I wanted to go back on your video, because I know we were kind of talking about that, and we went on a different subject, but I just want to say, like, because now, like I mentioned earlier, I pay more attention to, things in the background of films. Like when the second episode started, even though there was like music or the score in the background, like it wasn't too loud, and I could hear like the rain, and I love that, like the sound of rain, like all the other different elements. It wasn't overpowered by the other sounds.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and thank you for noticing that, because it's a weird thing when you go from the vault building where you just take a song and then you edit your moves or your vault to your song, whereas this has got like other sounds, whereas with the music, rain, wind, lightning, people walking, this, that, and the third. And I'm still not fully there yet, but like mix downs that are really important. And what I was trying to just, when I'm watching films now, I'm like, how loud is this song in comparison to everything else? And it's normally really quite quiet. You almost don't notice it. It just fills the space underneath. So that's what I tried to do here. But then there were a few times I was like, no, this needs to be a bit loud. We need to really feel this. But yeah, no, I'm glad. And yeah, with the rain, Falcon again, like, we nerd out about films. He was like, this should feel like Seven. Because if you've seen Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, it's raining 100% of the time. And you just get that feeling that they're in it. They're in the mud with exactly. So, that's why everything, all the Batman stuff I do is at night, rain, lightning, and then you're halfway there with the mood and the theme.
Do you get excited when I'm sorry, D, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And because I'm really excited, and even like the breathing, you mentioned him already, so I'm gonna say Bane, like the whole breathing, and when he does his like whatever noise he makes, oh my gosh, that's like it's totally like spot on, and just like yeah, it's like
right again.
Round of applause.
So that's Falcon. I said to Falcon, like, how are we doing Bane, by the way? Because he always takes the mickey out of Tom Hardy's voice. Obviously, it's the model that's modeled on Tom Hardy's Bane, and he was like, I'm thinking kind of Darth Vader, just breathing heavy and roaring, because in the script he was like, Bane jumps on the Batmobile, and roars at the night sky. And so obviously that's that scene where he roars and then there's more explosions behind him. But that's all Falcon. That's all Falcon doing that. And sometimes I'll say to him, I'm like, I'm waiting on that voice still, bro. And he was like, he has to really get into character. He's got a wife and 2 kids as well. So
yeah,
he's like, but I can't just go and do Bane today. I have to build up to it. But yeah, he killed it. And he said his throat was in a bad way afterwards from doing Bane's voice. But yeah, no, thank you. And that's something I want to ask, right? Because when you make a film, you can have rose-tinted glasses on. Or when you're creating anything, because you're doing it, sometimes you're like, oh, this is great, this is amazing. And whenever Falcon does a voice, I'm just like, that's so good. I hope I'm not just, I'm quite honest, and I would say to Falcon, now that don't work. But the voices he does, and he done Freddy, and I was like, bro, this is, spoiler alerts. But yeah, he's good. Shout out to Falcon. Shout out to that dude, bro.
Yeah, shout out. That's incredible. Go ahead,
No. You know how we're all nerding out over here. So yeah, back to the passion of making things, right? So like from the scenes to the cuts to the people to the score to the background, like that all takes precision for each scene, each step. You probably know every mistake that we don't even see, right? Like for me, whenever I make something and I produce it, I'm like, that I fucked up right there. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I can't take it back because it's live. And I'm like, who else is seeing it, right? For me, I'm like very conscious about that. And so
exactly the same.
And so for you, like, I'm sure because you probably know this film from front to back, right? But like from the joys to the pitfalls, kind of give us a description on like making that all come together, right? Because it's a bunch of moving parts that you have to do, but like it's also fun, right? Like for me, like now that you've honed your craft, I've honed my own. I really enjoy the structure of building it all together to have it turn into one big thing. And so like kind of give me that example for yourself.
Yeah, so again, so Falcon will send me the script, right? And sometimes he'll have like a bit of a storyboard background, sometimes it won't. Sometimes I'll go, right, what angle do you expect the camera to be here? Is this a low angle looking up? And sometimes I'll just see it and do it myself and send him. So there's a lot of back and forth like that. But then again, sometimes you think of a scene, go, oh, this is going to be amazing, followed by that. Then the thing that follows that doesn't work at all going after that. So then it's like, right, we need shots in between here. And then so it's just constantly changing. And yeah, it can be a headache, especially like sometimes I'll send something to Falcon and I'll know it's not good enough. But I'm just like, I hope he just tells me it's amazing so we can move on. But he never does, which I'm glad because I'm just being lazy at that point, and I know I'd regret it later down the line. But about mistakes, it's funny. There's 4 or 5 shots where there's either somebody actually in the scene that shouldn't be, but you just don't see it enough, or there's little things. And I said to Falcon, I was like, can you mask some of this out? Because he does a lot of after editing as well. And he was like, yeah, no problem. But I just went, do you know what? No one's going to notice it but us. So let's just put it out, you know what I mean? But in a couple of weeks, I'll go, oh, yeah, there's a foot there that shouldn't be.
Everyone's going to look now.
Yeah. And this is the thing, though. When you say that to the person, they're like, I can't unsee it now. So, yeah, I will definitely keep that to myself for a little while. But there's a lot of them, and I know there's a lot of them.
And I can feel you on that one. Like I said, like our first year when we were doing the podcast, everything was produced, everything, and so and whether it was produced good or bad, it had to get out the door, right? And I'm a person that gives myself a timeline. I have to have a workflow. I have to have some kind of structure. So, live streams, we kind of shoot by the hip, depending on what we do. And that's why I love the live stream element, because you can just turn on the camera and go. But then, and that's kind of what we did before Tales. We just kind of turned the camera on and go. And then after that, I'm like, let's build on this. Let's add this element. Let's do this. Okay, now we're kind of turning into a show. All right. And then, so let's take this, let's take that, and let's start building upon that. But before we did the live stream element, and I got to tell you, the live stream element is kind of more of a lazy approach from actually producing, because There's not a lot of producing that's needed. The only thing you can't do or you shouldn't do is mess up while you're live because there's people watching, right? You know, you're like the Tonight Show, right? So there's that element right there. But like before, it was like I could take my time, and like I remember I forget who it was. We were interviewing a CEO or something like that, and I'm like, I had to get it perfect, and I must have did like 10 or 15 takes till I finally got it right, and then we released it. I'm like, oh gosh, I released the wrong one, right? I released one where like the score is louder than it should be, right?
Yeah.
Because I go back to like when I was a kid, I needed everything to have a score, and so originally our production always had a score because I wanted sound to like help move the conversation, because sometimes just dead air is really that bad. You're gonna hear my squeaky chair, right? And so you get rid of that stuff by adding these extra elements. You know, even the rain helps with the whole visual element. So we did that for a while, but man, I would spend like sleepless nights because I'm a perfectionist. That's my biggest issue. And then I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck it, put it out. You know what I mean? Let's just see what happens. So
that's the thing though, isn't it? Learning what that point is of doing something so much to make it better, but then end up almost like resenting it, or just going, you just got to let it go. Like, because, you know, especially you two as parents, your time is even less. So you want to get as much done. So yeah, there's a lot of weighing up of, is this going to be worth it doing all of this? And in your mind, it's probably like, yeah, but then you just got to make that decision sometimes, haven't you? It's tough.
And it's a juggle because like we're also parents. I have a full-time job, and then we're also trying to do this now too.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
how many shows in a week, by the way?
7.
Damn. There you go.
You know, I'm happy we had a cancellation yesterday, to be very quite honest, because you know I got to actually do something. But no.
It's good though. We have a team now, so that's they help us. So that's good to like get people that you can turn to that are helpful and can help you, and just do it together.
That's it. Yeah, definitely.
And you have a team too, right? I mean, you have Falcon, you had all your community members, and so like these, right? Like 7 shows, but that is all not that hard because of the operation that's been streamlined. I mean, 2 years in the making, right? Just like you, right? You've gone through all the steps to make this movie. You know what you need to do on the next one. And so now the next time, all you're really doing now is taking your foundation and building upon that and just making it more progressive and stronger. So,
yeah, exactly. And just like, and I'm sure you basically said it there, but every single new thing you create in your mind has to be better than the last thing, right? And maybe sometimes it's not always is, but that's what you should strive towards. So, I managed to, I feel like, tick that off the list this time because we had characters that talked, actual motion capture, little things like, bro, when I learned how to make building actually explode and rubble and all of that, I phoned up Falcon. I was like, I'm the happiest person right now.
That was incredible. Like it was like a domino effect. Or at least one of the scenes in there. I'm not which one you're talking about specifically, but the one where it
well, just when you see a building explode.
Like, oh my god!
Yeah,
and then the build up with the score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
perfection.
It was so much fun, man. But it's again, I've always mentioned Falcons because who I've spoken to the most in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
Every day we chat about trying to get this film finished. But now it's done, and obviously we're going to do part 3. But there's always that. It's no longer yours. You know what I mean? It's all about the journey of making the thing. Once it's out, and it's done now.
But don't you feel happy? And what I mean by happy is like I love the shock and awe approach, right? When people are like, whoa, like boom, bam, you know what I mean? Like this came out or that came out. Like you're doing it, like the shock and awe for us is like you're doing another show, but the shock and awe for you is like that ending, right? Like that shock and awe right there is it must be what's the word I'm looking for? It's a testament to your hard work. You finally got there,
rewarding.
And it's rewarding. There you go.
Yeah. It was definitely rewarding. And funny enough, so that the last scene, I'll let you guys into a little. There was supposed to be another scene that got completely cut. So, and I don't think this is spoiling this, but after the Batmobile set piece, so to speak.
The scene.
Nightwing was originally going to be put, like, it would cut to black, and then Nightwing was going to wake up in a circus, and there were going to be all these like weird clowns, not the Joker, but all these weird clowns play, and then they go on stage and they start playing this really janky, weird like song. This is the way Falcon written it, and then it was like, and then bang, body falls from the floor, bang, 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 all these like clown bodies fall from the floor. Then they were supposed to get out, and me and Falcon spent about 2 weeks making that scene, and just going, this is great, but it just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. And it was something that he'd come up with that I really loved, but that was a bit tougher. He was like, okay, I get it. Why do we try this and this? And then I was like, bro, we need to just cut it and get to the boiler scene. And he was like, you're probably right. And that's something I'm really pleased with, because even though we were having fun with that, the deleted scene, it just worked. It works so much better as well. Like, yeah, going straight to that.
So now you've accomplished this, and you're going to be working on the third film. Are you thinking about what's the next step for you? Like, and we go back to like talking about pushing the boundaries and maybe even doing something that's uncomfortable. Like, is there something that you are thinking about trying to pivot to that's different from the dark and this type of genre? I mean, like, and dare I say, like, maybe even like maybe a love thing. I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah,
like, is there anything you're thinking about pivoting to test yourself?
Well, there isn't. So, Batman's my franchise, right? But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of sick of Batman right now. And I don't want to ruin it, but Falcon's come up with this original idea. Like, it is going to be horror based, but it's not based on any IP. Fully his story, fully his characters that he wants me to help bring to life. So at the moment, that's something I'd like to. I need to get really good at animation first and learn. So you've seen with the faces talking, that's motion capture. But I want to get to the point I am going to have to buy a body motion capture suit and start doing that, because I can get all these animations and I can tweak them and everything like that. But yeah, I really want to learn proper motion capture so I can do anything like wise. And speaking to, I don't know if you know Tete in the community. Doesn't come around that much, but he's a rapper, a very talented rapper. And I've been saying to him, I was like, because he was talking about the possibilities of doing a music video. I was like, bro, we should get you into motion capture and make a music video in Unreal Engine, and it will look crazy. And so I'd like to do stuff like that, like music videos, but it takes so long, and then I really miss. I do miss the VeVe-verse a bit. I'm gonna have to hop back in there for a little bit.
Just for a break.
Yeah, just for a break, man. And I've seen what you guys have been making. It's beautiful to see all you guys get in there now and not just go, oh, this is cool, we're done in a week. Like I've seen all the stuff on Twitter, people are cooking. But, and again, this is no slant on VeVe, but this is 4 months versus when I made that Batman, the chase scene with the penguin that I dropped a month ago or whatever. A week and a half start to finish. That was a week and a half start to finish in the VeVe-verse, whereas this is 4 months. So yeah, I just want to take a little bit of a break and see what the options are. Sorry, again, that's a really long-winded way of asking your question. No.
It's all good. I'm pretty good at tangenting my answers as well. But so I'm going to pivot to you, D, because there's a question that's like brewing in my head.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I've been enjoying the talk, and I appreciate you for coming on and just explaining to us and the people watching and listening, because we got 10, I'm sorry, I don't know how long exactly. It's like 10-minute something of the video that you dropped today, but we, like, people who don't do any kind of video production, editing whatsoever, we just assume that it's super easy and you just put it out. And so for you to, just break it down, tell us all like what went into making this awesome video come out after 4 months of not only, changing the script however many times you did, modifying it, finding the people to be able to that are suitable for the characters that you want them to portray, dealing with like 5 6 different time zones.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
She knows
And
this.
yeah, and just like, going back and forth and being able to have an open mind, and helping each other, like mainly you and Mr. Falcon, like, I really like this, but maybe you're right, it doesn't work, so let's pivot and do something else. And for the most part, most of the time, and you guys have shown it, pivoting sometimes makes it even better,
Yeah.
for like the audience to just really take in and just enjoy. And so for me as the viewer, that I have no creative bone in my body, so I really enjoy just watching the final product. And you coming on and just explaining that is just like all the hard work, like really, that goes into it. So yeah, kudos and hats off, round of applause to
Thank you.
you, Falcon, and everyone involved.
Honestly, I'm just, honored to come on and chop it up, because again, me and Falcon, or me and Tech, can talk on the phone and nerd out about this a lot, but like we're still also aware that, so to come on and do it here is a great honor. So I really, really, really appreciate it.
And I gotta
Yeah.
tell you, so D had a whole entire like question. I have not looked at it. I said, you know what? We're just gonna riff, because I really want to talk about this film, because this is something that at least because for me, I can't talk to anybody about video production. And like I said, like for me, I look at you're a movie director. You, Falcon, you guys are directing a movie. Over us on this side of the pond, we're making TV shows, right? And so like one of the things that scared me, Tails, is when we were starting new shows, is trying to do a show about Web3, blockchain, metaverse. To me, that is the hardest show we've ever tried to make, because we are stepping outside of our element. I'm about the comic books. I'm about digital collecting, right? And now and obviously anybody can learn this stuff, but you really gotta go into the knee deep of this stuff. And because the one thing I don't want to do, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is put stuff out just to put stuff out, just to put content out. It's like then I'm not ABC or something like that, right? Like so. Like it takes a lot of work to do this, and like and then the criticism, right? Like, oh, these guys are trying to do this because there's KOLs out here doing this stuff. So, but for me, like, I don't care what people think about me, because at the end of the day, if you don't try to do something you've never tried before, how do you know if you can't do it? And so, like, one of the hardest shows we tried to make here was Future Watch. It still is. And it's basically, we sunsetted our comic book show because Big Bro and Raven, they do one. So it was getting repetitious. It's like you're saying, like, you're kind of sick of Batman. Well, I was kind of sick of talking about comics, because we have 2 shows on one day talking about comics. So we wanted to try something different and pivot. And it's been interesting. People have been receptive towards it. I don't know if maybe the people in the back of the room are like, oh, these guys are trying to do something that's not really their realm. And it's the truth. We are really trying to do something we've never done before, because I really want to push that boundary. And that's the reason why I wanted to ask you about, like, what are the boundaries you want to push now? Because that's the only way I feel we can get better.
Yeah. I mean, again, like when I watch back and I watch this film, I'm like, man, I'm really proud of it. And then I'll go and watch somebody else that's doing it in this, and I was like, okay, I've got that to learn, that to learn, that to learn, that to learn. Like, let's write these down, and so I'm just trying to learn. Like, that's all I want to do, is just continue to learn. And I've said this before, but like, I guess my like goal with all this is, I don't know if you've seen the show Love, Death and Robots. They got a new season coming out on Netflix. It's like an animated anthology show. That's the dream, is to one day make something good enough that would go onto that show as a 10-minute animated film, and possibly at some point like real life, directing. But I've never owned a camera except for my phone. That's why it's
that's
so
a camera.
Yeah. You're right.
I mean,
But
we're in the
yeah,
creators economy now. These are all cameras, and this is better than that Panasonic telereporter that I had during paintball. I gotta
it's
tell you,
true. I
if
heard
I
there
had
was
this, we'd be flying to the races.
I heard there's a great horror movie that's come out recently. I can't remember the name of it, but it was all shot on an iPhone. So no, you're right. But that would be the comfort zone that I would be going out of my comfort zone when doing that. But I guess I don't know where to start with that. I need a good script and actors and yada yada yada. Whereas what I love about Unreal Engine is Falcon sends me the script. I go, this is what I imagine, and then I'm like, bang, 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 bang. Like I love how the first shot in this film looks when we lead into the first two characters, and I managed to make that scene in a day. But then it's the filming that takes so long. But you get that, I can get those foundations that give you the motivation to continue because you're like, this looks good. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I can see with the advent of AI and now these AI agents, there's some projects out here that's allowing you to like take your agents around. I can see you incorporating AI agents into your film where they're basically characters that you program to be your stars. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
see that happening. And so but that goes back to the creator economy there, Tales. It's like you can literally use tech now with also voice, because I really feel like AI has to still be paired with the human in order for it to be organic and realistic. You know what I mean? You can tell if you're just full on AI, whether in your production or if you're reading off of like a script or something like that, you can tell because the AI is not there yet in terms of being organic. But if you pair them together, I really think you got some magic, and I can really see you putting AI agents in there. Like I can imagine that Nightwing will move around because you're basically telling that AI agent to move around, and then you can incorporate a voice to that either from the agent or Max, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can see that happening right there. D, you want to add anything to this? Oh, is he growling again?
No, it took me a while to unmute myself. No, I agree with you. The way that things are evolving and ever changing in this digital space. So we do have more tools that can help us, make our production better or whatever we're working on. And I'm just here for the ride. I just love seeing what people put out, when it happens. And I'm just able to like soak it all in, take it all in, and just enjoy it. So yeah, whatever you end up coming up with, I'll be front row seat to the show.
Appreciate you.
I'm there. Yeah. I
And
just
you
love it.
guys, you guys are cooking. Like you're. I know, Hannah. I spotted a little bit of insecurity about 5 minutes ago. You're like, maybe there's some people that are saying this and that about us, bro. You two are loved out here. From what I can see, you guys are doing fantastic, and everybody sees it. So just continue to do what you're doing. And
yeah. We're about a half an hour before the show. Then that's how fast it goes here. We're like an hour and a half chopping it up. How are you doing on time?
Well, over my side, yeah, all good. 9:30 in the evening.
Okay. So we probably got another 30 minutes to go. And so I'm going to pivot now from your film, but I really enjoyed this talk. And guys, once again, please, if you can, give them a support right here. Give them all support, because this is a village took to make this, as well as a lot of time and effort, and it should not be gone unnoticed. So I kind of want to tell everybody about the giveaway, guys. We are doing a giveaway. Please type in #Gotham, and let me show you guys what you can win. To kind of, keep on theme here, we're going to be giving away a McFarlane Toys digital Nightwing right here.
You can enter 2 Tails.
As well as a Joker.
Damn.
And then Tails, this is for you. This is basically our NFT that was created by Davo right here. And so it's a representation of myself, D.
I'm looking at my other screen. I'm not being rude. I am looking at it.
No, you're good. You're good. My son, and then my daughter, who's Punchline right there.
Wow.
So, and this is a limited piece. There's only 60 made, and we rarely give these out. And so I know you're a big fan of the fandom. And so I want you to have this. This also has a lot of utility in our Discord if you ever want to enter our giveaways and stuff like that. So
amazing. Thank you so much, man. That's quality. I love it.
Thank you. And shout out to Davo for making it. And then also, I just had to give you one of these just because this is also going to you as well. So make sure you give us your ETH wallet when you're done. But guys, enter the giveaway. This is the first place, and this is the second place winner. We will roll this at the end of the show. So Tails, real quick, I want to talk about the Vaultaholics.
Let's go.
Yeah, I remember watching you guys on YouTube. I remember watching your guys' shorts. I love those. Like you would make like these alien videos, and I love the lighting. I remember when Falcon would always talk about like certain lightings. They would use certain collectibles. So kind of give us a journey on how that was started. And yeah, kind of give us that origin story on the Vaultaholics.
Yeah, man, it's bro. 2021 seems like a mirage, like it never happened. But I just remember, I'll try and do the shorter version, but I wasn't into NFTs or crypto or anything. I was into poker. A poker player I respected mentioned VeVe. I was like, oh, do you know what? Let me just see what this is about. DeLorean come out. I was like, okay, I bought one. I put it in here. Oh, what's next? All right, I buy these Batmans. And I just remember seeing True Tech and Ryan Romantic or Romantic. At the time, I don't know I can't remember what they built, but I was like, oh, so there's other people out here doing this. Like, this isn't just, just me on my own being a weirdo on my phone. And then, it spread like wildfire when it comes to like, I call it VeVe Twitter. Because I just opened an account one day. I was already following 2 people on my real name account. I was like, let me open a Tails account. Within 2 days, I found True Tech, Falcon, Deadpool Whale. I don't know whether that's a name you recognize.
I do.
Fancy Fingers, which is a crazy name now thinking about it. Chill Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, bro. And I just see that these were all guys that were putting out videos. And it was the start of spaces. Like at this time, only OBL had a space on Twitter. I think we had to have a certain amount of followers or something. And then eventually they opened up. People were just doing market spaces. And then, do you remember Traps Wellington? Does that ring the bell? Right. So Traps was in one of these spaces that we were trying to talk about creating. And he just hit me up and he was like, bro, we need to start our own thing. And I was like, how do you mean? He was like, we'll start our own space, me and you. And we'll call it whatever. So it was like, just add a load of the guy that builds vaults. And it's mad to think about. But I spoke to all these guys. I just assumed they spoke to each other too. And I've just put all of us in a group chat. So it was me, Get Richie, Chill Crazy, VeVe Vivify, True Tech, Falcon, Deadpool Well, VeVe Giphy, Traps, and Athena. I've remembered them all. I was like, hey guys, welcome. You're all vault builders. This is what I want to do. Are you guys up for it? And we just all hit it off. Like, it was crazy how it all worked out. And like, within 2 months, we had not rotors, but going, oh, are you releasing today? Because I'll leave mine a day or two. And yeah, we were just always inspiring each other. And
that's cool.
VeVe was so fun. And I'm not saying VeVe's not fun now, but it was so fun then.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, so we were just doing this every day and just chatting. And then I think, like, I can't remember how the name come up. But I was like, maybe we're going to have to think of a name, which at the time it was a bit cringy, but I was like, because I'm just putting like Vault Gang, hashtag Vault Gang. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then Get Richie was just like, what about the Vaultaholics? A lot of people actually said, what about VeVe this? Like VeVe Vault this. And I was like, that name's kind of been used and, let's come up. So anyway, Get Richie come up with Vaultaholics, and then that was it. And I remember Dan mentioning it in an AMA once. And, in the early times when we were all real fanboys, I know there's still loads of fans, which is great, but it was crazy to hear that at the time. Like, man, these guys know what we're doing? Like, with their... so it's mad. Because I don't think Dan and David ever thought what everybody does in the VeVeverse now and in the vaults would ever happen. I guess they were just like, oh, they'll just put them on the walls like normal people. But
imagination runs wild. And I'm glad you guys chose a name that didn't have VeVe. And no shade on VeVe, but like when you choose a name, like when we were choosing a name, we actually were supposed to be called VeVe Talks. And like, and for a long time, we're like, okay, VeVe Talks. And I'm like, that is just not rolling off the tongue. And then after a while, I really thought about it. I'm like, well, what if we wanted to talk about other things, right? Then we're always going to be stuck in this one fishbowl because that's what we did to ourselves. So like the name was important for anything to like express yourself. And so like I really loved that name, the Vaultaholics. It still
Right.
sticks till this day.
Yeah.
I remember you guys, I was the guy in the back of the room watching you guys' YouTube channel. I never would say anything. I'm still the guy that sits in the back of the room and don't really say much, but I remember watching all you guys. I remember interacting with Chill Crazy on the timeline. I wish he would come back. And then, you know, it's like all these other guys, but you guys could do something I couldn't. I could never work in that vault because I didn't have the right phone and it would always freeze and everything. So like everything you guys did, I've always wanted to do in there because to me, I'm like, oh, this is a good way to make videos. It's a good way to make a production. I was in my head already. I'm like, I want to make something. And I could just never get that to go for myself. And so now the VeVeverse is like a really good outlet for me to do stuff, to make scenes and stuff like that. Though. But then I watch your film and I'm like, maybe not, you know?
Nah, don't be silly, man. So the great thing about the VeVeverse, though, is because you are quite limited, like, it almost makes it better. It almost makes it more fun because you're like, right, I want to make this, but they don't have this. So what can I use to make this? And seeing a load of people do that is really inspiring to me. So I love what you guys are doing. And yeah, you know, sometimes some people go, oh, I'm not what you did. It's like, bro, like we're all just creating, we're all learning.
That's it.
And yeah, I love it. And I'm just so, yeah, I think I said this in Aussie Space. I was a little bit skeptical because vault building is very niche, and I knew there was a lot of people was like, I can't build in the Vault app, and I get it. It was horrible, but I was like, are these people actually going to build when the VeVeverse comes? And to see everybody doing it now is like awesome. People really did want to, and they're really enjoying it. So I think that's amazing.
And their imaginations are running wild. Like some of the things I'm seeing, like and like for me, like I really treat it like a sandbox game. You know, it reminds me of SimCity for me, and like I can lose myself. Like, and that goes to attest to like we interviewed someone a few days back about losing yourself in these virtual worlds. Like you can lose track of time, you can lose track of your own personality. You could actually succumb to that. You know what I mean? And like I can see these virtual worlds doing that if you don't have an anchor to real life. So I don't know if you can attest to that, but I like what people are doing. For us, we're incorporating like scenes. Like now we do like because on VeVe Radio they love to do like little skits, right? Like radio skits. And so now they're incorporating the VeVeverse where they're like, okay, VeVeverse news, where you have a Lambo that crashed into like one of the buildings, right? And you have like little mighties and stuff like that, right? But the imagination can go wild, and I think that's where it's going. But like for the VeVeverse Tales, what is your envisionment for it? I mean, it's 1.0, it's out now. You've been in it for a year. What's your opinion on it now, and where do you see it going? Now, I'm gonna frame this question for you. For me, I really look at it as a construct for social interaction. I think for me, like that is the one place for me specifically where it has the most legs. As long as it has that easy button, as Chris Severs likes to say. Right now, the easy button is not there. I think the prefabs are great for people that don't want to build, but also having that option to build is also good too, to have that balance. But what's your insights on the VeVeverse?
I mean, I think it's great. I enjoyed it from day one when we got in the beta. I was like, oh, thank God! Like they've got all the things that we wanted at the time as quite niche vault builders. But I agree for it to become, I don't know. I hate that. I kind of hate the term was mass adoption. But
yeah,
Chris Evans has put it perfectly. There needs to be an easy button, not just with the building, right? But I remember, and I haven't tried this out for a while, so you have to tell me how it is. But when you have people into your space and you want to all talk, the audio, and again, this was during beta, was not great. Because there was always this talk of like, oh, we're going to take spaces to the VeVeverse, and yeah, that concept's great, but unless it's as easy as boop, request, hey guys, I'm here,
and you can hear everybody.
Yeah, and yeah, you know the great. I don't know if you've ever tried VR chat, which OBL does, but they have a great thing in there.
He has.
So do you know this? They have I think it's like called spatial audio. So just say you had 20 people in your VeVeverse room, and you want to go and have a private conversation with D. in VR chat, you can walk a little bit away, and the other people can no longer hear you. But the problem in the VeVeverse, you're just the same volume because you're just on, like, it's like this, right? You know what I mean? So I think they need that. I think that'd be a great thing. You know, there's been a lot of stuff that, you know, shout out to Josh because the guy's a beast, but he's been bringing up all the points that if I was in there every day like I was, I would have brought up as well. It's like, I knew that had annoyed Josh, so I'm glad that he's, you know, bringing up those things. But yeah, the social thing, I think will be amazing because if it was as easy as Spaces, I think people would be in there, right? Because you've got visuals. You're not looking at your phone and emojis, like, and, you know, the collaborative effort. But bro, I'm just pleased they got it out because I've always been a believer. But there was a point that even I was like, ooh, is this going to come out? And they did it. You know, that they did it and people are enjoying it. So, yeah. You know, I know a lot of people want gamification as well. I don't. Besides, again, the stuff that Josh and Masomi and all these people that make amazing and stuff, you've got to make your own gamification now. I personally don't see, my own opinion, VeVe doing much in terms of gamification within the next year. Because
they don't have to, though. They really don't have to.
They don't. But for the people that are like, oh, that's what I want. I'm like, I don't know whether that's happening. Like straight away.
And let me reiterate what I mean. Like, they don't have to. Like, VeVe necessarily doesn't have to, but that's okay because then you're gonna have, because it goes back to the creator economy, right? The creator can make the game. There are elements in there which you can gamify, and they're doing it already. And I can just see it like progressing over time. They just got to give the creator the right tools to make that happen. Better audio, having that spatial audio, that can be a game. There's so much things you can do, and that's why I like the sandbox concept right there. And you're right, like if it was like something as easy as like, boom, I'm in the VeVeverse, O'Malley's got his spaces right there, but instead of seeing bubbles, you're seeing avatars, right? And like he's like either he's doing it on a beach or he's in a tower or something like that. So that is the social aspect right there, and that's the creator economy that I hope that's where that's going. I mean, and that's just one world. There's many, right? And so that is where I hope this goes for that specific construct. Because in the end, Tales, we're kind of in the VeVeverse already, right? Like, if you think about it, Twitter, we're hanging out in the VeVe community. We're talking right now. This is a form of like some type of VeVeverse. If you think about it, it's all virtual in the end. Like I'm in Hawaii, you're out in the UK, and we brought you here digitally. So, you know, let's go. And this is kind of where we're at.
When you put it like that, it's incredible. I take that for granted sometimes. That, you know, 10 years ago, I would not be on a Friday night talking to two lovely people from Hawaii about filmmaking. So, yeah, it's mad when you put it like that.
And you're a director that directed a movie with people in different time zones. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's fascinating where we're going. What do you think, Dee?
No, I agree. And just to touch on the VeVeverse, for me, as you know, someone who got into it when it came out to the public, like for a year, however long it was when you guys got in, and you know, you go on spaces, like when people come up on stage and just want to like get an AMA out of you, and you're like, oh, you know, I can't say anything because I signed an NDA, but everything looks so good, and we're like, okay, that's what you keep saying for like the past year. So I can only imagine like your frustration as well. Like you have so many things, like so many creations that you put your time and talent in, and you just want to show people, but you know, because of restrictions, things you're not allowed to do just yet, you're like, oh, come on. Like I'm saying all this great stuff, but since it's not being put out, like people are going to start like not believing me kind of thing. So
that definitely happened. And Millie always takes a mickey out of me for it because there was one time, I think people got sent emails for the second round of beta and they had to take them back. I was like, don't worry, guys, it's going to be all fine. And then that didn't happen for quite a while. And Millie was like, you learned from that mistake, haven't you, buddy? And I'm like, yeah, I have. But there was a lot of that. Like people, I got to the point in the beta where I was like, I don't even want to talk about it just because people go, oh, we're not in there, we don't care, or it's not. The amount of times I had people reply to me,
you're not on the list,
or the VeVeverse isn't real, and I'm like, look at my pinned tweet, bro, and they're like, prove that's in the VeVeverse. Do a video of you doing it now. I'm like, like you just couldn't win. So yeah, it was.
And that was
close.
understandable, though. It was understandable, though.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, it's here now. Shout out to Ben. Really, I feel like he was the one that managed to push this forward a lot. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to how it goes. There is one question I want asked, and that to Dan or Ben or whoever. But Dan came out and said that they were going to have Unreal Engine VeVeverse. First it'd be Unity, then it'd be Unreal Engine. Now, they haven't said it isn't, but you know, I'd like somebody to ask that question at some point.
You know how it goes. There's no time frames here, guys. You know. So.
Yeah, it's another when question, and the answer is soon.
Oh, so guys, it's been an hour and 45 minutes. This is around the time where we turn the tables and we let Tales ask us a question. So go ahead, Tales.
Okay. Oh God, there's so many.
This happens to everyone. The same thing happened to Tasha.
No, because I've got some good questions, but I don't want to ask something. This might be a bit generic. We'll start with this. What's your favorite collectible on VeVe? We'll start with the generic question. What's your favorite collectible on VeVe that you own or don't own?
So, I guess it depends, because like I was asked this question on VeVe Radio, and I can tell you that my favorite collectible is the DeLorean, because Back to the Future is my favorite trilogy. I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I love time travel. I love the concept of time travel, bending realities, seeing different realities and stuff like that. I've got like bunch of DeLoreans right here. I got another one right here. You know what I mean? So like,
let's go.
Yeah, so the DeLorean specifically is my favorite collectible. Now, if there's a collectible that has the most fondest memory, that's the Battlestar Galactica, and that's because when I first met Dee in 2006. Battlestar Galactica was out, and here in the States, it was on Friday nights, and it was on a channel called Sci-Fi. And so Sci-Fi Fridays was a big thing here. You'd have Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Battlestar Galactica. And so when she first met me, because she was young and she wanted to go out and club, and I said, I don't go out on Friday nights. What do you mean you don't go out on Friday nights? I'm like, yeah, I stay in there and watch Battlestar Galactica. What? And I said, yeah, and like, I got shit for that from her for at least a good 2 weeks. And I said, just try it out. Okay, this is not about spaceships. Well, it is about spaceships, but it really is about the people in the spaceship and the turmoil and the stuff they go through, right? It was a show about people. And so I showed her this one episode. It was season 3, episode 3, where like the spaceship did some crazy things that you would never see a spaceship do in a sci-fi movie. But then you see the people. The people went through some arduous stuff in that episode. And so I told her, this is the reason why I like watching this, because it's so compelling TV. Like, if you ever notice, like, TV now kind of sucks. There's not a lot of good stuff on, at least on my side of the pond, versus like back in like the early 2000s, TV was at its prime. Like from the 90s going into the 2000s, TV was at its prime for me, at least. And so I converted her into watching Sci-Fi Friday, at least when the seasons were on. We'd still go out, or like after the TV shows, we would go out to the clubs and hang out with our friends. But, it became a ritual for us. Every Friday, we'd stay home. We'd make dinner. We'd barbecue. We'd have steaks. We'd kick back on the couch. And we would watch these 3 shows, but specifically Battlestar Galactica, to a point where Dee and I got really close that was our date night every Friday. Even when the seasons ended, we would still do date night. We would make sure that was the night for both of us, and that solidified our relationship for the 3 seasons. And so that ship, everyone's like, why do you like that? I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, there's a representation for that, right? Like that's a representation of our relationship. So that spaceship, and it blew my mind when that dropped on VeVe, because I'm like, they're dropping this. Nobody knows about this,
They're like, there's you, and one other person.
Yeah. And I was so happy when they dropped that, because like, not only did it look like, because I've always wanted one. I finally bought one. There's a big ass one right over there. But like, I've always wanted one, and to see it in the VeVeverse, it's just like, it blew my mind, because it's to scale. They have even the battle scars from it. And I know where that battle scar came from, because I know the episode that it happened, because I was with my wife the whole time throughout the journey of watching that show. And so that specific collectible for me holds a lot of memory.
Let's go, man. What an answer. Wow.
See?
Mine is pretty simple and not so long like Hinano. Nothing bad about yours, Hinano. My favorite collectible, and it's because of like when I was younger and grew up with one of my older brothers. He was like we used to always watch, Batman and Robin, the TV series, and we were really like huge DC fans, and I think that's how like my love for DC like started was, when I was younger and just sharing that with, my older brother. And so my favorite character in DC is Wonder Woman. Like she's just like amazing, beautiful. She's like a badass like woman, and she stands for for good. And so when I was able to on the app, Wonder Woman came out, and I was like, I need to get this. And so I got both of the Wonder Womans on the app, and so those are like my most favorite collectibles on the app.
They're
Just
both
because
great,
of that.
especially the second one with the lasso. The lasso, do I want to call
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah.
The lasso of
Yes.
truth.
That's
People like
it.
to think I'm whipped. So
I can tell you he's not. He makes his own choices most of the time. No.
right.
But then that was going to lead to my other question, but it looks like Hanano has already answered this one as well. Is favorite? Have you got a favorite movie of all time? Like if you're stuck on a desert island, well, you guys are pretty much on an island, right? But for forever, and you've got one film.
Oh, that's a good question.
What is
That is a really good. No one's ever asked me that before, Tails. That's a very good question. I'll let Dee answer first. I gotta think about this.
Oh man.
I'll tell you what. If it's easier, I'll let you have 3.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Okay. I can give you the first one. Explorers from Joe Dante. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
Okay. So basically, for me, like I always love movies where it incorporated kids, because having kids, that kid element really brings out the adventure in the flick. And so Explorers was about 3 kids that discovered how to create basically a sphere that could float, and they found out how to do this through dreams from aliens contacting them from space. And so it had that very Spielberg type of feel. In fact, I think Spielberg was a producer on that film. And so what these kids did is they built their own homemade spaceship, and they called it the Thunder Road, which I think was a Bruce Springsteen song. And it was the ugliest thing, Tails. Like it was a spaceship with a trash can in the front of it, and like the windows was made out of like a washing machine, and they had like a TV screen on there. But like that simplified element of kids going into space in this ugly looking thing. It was like from a carnival ride. Anyways, Google the film, The Explorer.
Now you're talking about it, it rings a bell. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I have seen this, but yeah. Continue.
Well, the score, I believe it was John Williams, and that score, that's another thing. The score, I'll never forget that score. It really had that punchy feel. Whenever they built the spaceship, you would hear that score. Whenever the spaceship lifts off for the first time, you have that punchy feel. And that movie really, like, it really reminded me of like that adventure of trying to go into the unknown, going into space and really going that unknown. So it was a really good movie. There's a lot of old actors in there that you'll recognize. But yeah, Google that film. That's number 1. Number 2 was Flight of the Navigator.
Flight of the Navigator. Let's go.
That one was perfect because it dealt with time travel, a kid missing, coming back. His parents didn't know. Parents seeing him as the same age. You get to see Sarah Jessica Parker as this young female, right? And then, but the spaceship, like, and I can't remember, Max, I believe, was the android in there. It was just so uniquely made, and like the concept of this thing morphing, and like it kind of looked like the Terminator, right? T2. And so that film really resonated with me a lot. I watched it a lot as a kid, and still till this day, I'll never forget that film. And then lastly, it's Back to the Future, but I cannot say the one film. It's the trilogy. The trilogy
Yeah.
really made it for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That whole that's my favorite trilogy. To me, that's one film. That's
Yeah.
one film. If you're really if you're really a lover of film, you don't go 1, 2, 3. You're like, that's a whole thing right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Mhm.
So those are my 3.
Let's go. Great answers.
For me, and I'm thinking about just movies. I mean, there's so many movies now, but I think because it's like so reminiscent and like very nostalgic. Um, One of the first movies I saw in theater with my mom when I was younger was Tall Tale. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's kind of like a fantasy, um, adventure fantasy kind of film. And I actually found it on, I forgot what streaming service it was, and I started watching like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, wow, like the filming was like, well, obviously you can tell it's from back in the day. um, but that was one of my favorite movies, just kind of like escaping to another, it wasn't like another reality, but just what if, you can dream about something else. So yeah, if you get a chance to, it's about a little boy, but um it's called Tall Tale with Patrick Swayze is in there.
Oh damn.
And maybe that was another reason why I liked it.
Wasn't he like
um,
an older version of Tom Sawyer in that movie?
Kind of, yeah, like that kind of
So those characters were in Tall Tale, like Tom Sawyer and like like who's the guy
it's
with the apple tree?
Paul Bunyan
Paul
or
Bunyan.
and Pecos. I'm forgetting the names because it was like so long ago. But yeah, go check it out if you can.
I will.
I gotta go
Yeah,
find
I'm
out
not
where.
I feel
Yeah.
like I've seen Explorers, and like now Hannah's talking about it, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. So I'm gonna have to check those out. But yeah,
If you love scores, then you would remember that movie. That score is like it's memorable. The score, just like in
it's
Flight of
when-
the Navigator, that score is memorable.
Yeah.
I haven't watched those films for years. I just remember them so much as a kid. But yeah,
I think we still have it on DVD. I think, right?
Yeah,
The Flight of the Navigator and
we do.
yeah, even Explorers.
what's
Yeah,
the,
we
what's
have
the
them all.
film? Flight and Navigate. What was the? I'm just thinking of this kind of dragon dog with big fluffy ears.
Oh, the Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending
There
Story.
it is.
Yeah,
There it is. Yeah,
that was another.
The same
There's
kind of time.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
we're having runner-ups here, I gotta put in Big Trouble Little China. Big Trouble Little China.
Oh yeah,
That was good. And then also Ghostbusters. Mainly because I was afraid of the dark. And so and this is no joke. Pretending to be a Ghostbuster really helped me overcome the dark. And I explained this.
I'm pretty
Sorry?
sure I had a very similar thing. Like I wouldn't go up my stairs without my mum going up to the top and turning the light on first. When I was 6, guys, I see the fathers in there.
You're afraid of the dark.
But just quickly on Ghostbusters. So growing up, Ghostbusters 2 was my favorite movie ever, right? And I hadn't watched it for years. And I listened to this podcast and they were talking about Ghostbusters 2 and they were saying how bad it was and how it didn't age well and all this. I was like, no, Ghostbusters 2 is incredible. I went back and watched Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 back to back. Ghostbusters is incredible and has aged really well with the comedy and everything like that. I watched Ghostbusters 2 and I nearly slapped my younger self. I was like, that was a terrible film. But Ghostbusters 1 is still, it's really funny. Like it's a top tier comedy with this supernatural element.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of like people growing up in this generation didn't get what we got long time ago, like with the comedy, the acting, just like how things work back then. So I think we're very fortunate to have grown up when we did and just appreciate it now, talking to the younger generation. Yes, we are old people. The younger generation. So like just to see like where things have evolved. I mean, there's a lot of good film nowadays, but I don't think things can compare to what we had with the technology back then. Like what we had back then is like just incredible,
For sure, I agree.
Another movie that I really like, and I don't know, people might be like, that's just a cop out. Is another one that I watched on VHS is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2.
Okay,
I mean, one is good too, but that's the one I grew up with, and then also Terminator. That's like just watching all that in VHS. Just watching it till the end,
yeah,
rewinding it, and then
yeah.
watching it again with my younger brothers. I'm just like, yeah, those all good movies for
I
me.
thought you were gonna say New Jack City or something. So
No.
Solid picks. Yeah. Yeah, funny enough, Turtles is another one that is actually aged pretty well. I don't know if you've seen the last time you saw Turtles 1, but really gritty. Like,
yeah,
it was kind of surprising because I can't remember what it was like. I just remember being a kid, loving Turtles and going, "This is amazing." But then watching it when I'm older, I'm like, "Man, no, shred the story and they get the kid, and it was gritty. Like, it was still good. And, they all had New York accents. I don't know whether that's where Turtles has always been based, but like, yeah, really good.
Yeah.
I
And
hate it when Michael Bay did it. When Michael Bay did the Turtles film.
gosh, yeah,
So
that wasn't even. I don't know what those were.
What was that?
I'm glad that's the general consensus. Good.
Yeah. What about your choices, Tails?
Ah, bro.
Too many?
If I had to do three off the top of my head, Dark Knight goes in there.
Mm.
A Will Ferrell comedy has to go in there just because I'm stuck on the desert island for the rest of my life, so I need some comedy.
Talladega Nights.
Oh, tell
Nah,
me.
it would be between the other guys, Step Brothers.
Oh yeah,
It's probably
that's a
between
good
them
one.
two. It's
Those
probably
are good.
between them two.
Mhm.
But yeah, now that you've asked me this question, man, I don't know why I asked you guys. I knew it was going to come
It's a
back.
tough answer.
There's so
Dark
many
Knight,
over the
that.
years.
And then it would be out of, and I know this is a cop out, but out of Aliens, Terminator 2, Back to the Future, and Seven. Seven's
And they've all aged
Oh,
well.
yeah.
yeah.
They've all aged well. They're rewatchable. If they're rewatchable, then that is a good flick. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is, and that's the most important thing. I even listened to a podcast called The Rewatchables, right?
Oh,
So a
gotta
film,
check them out.
for example, Oppenheimer. Love that film. One of the greatest films I've seen in a long time.
Oh,
And I want to
haven't seen
watch it again. Like, I'm not like, oh, I need to see Oppenheimer again. But yeah, rewatchable movies for the win.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
gotta watch that. We haven't watched Oppenheimer just yet. It's on our list. We have like a growing list.
I think everybody's got a list. So,
Yeah.
but guys, we are at the
Great.
2-hour mark, and I think we're getting to the end right here. So, I want to remind the audience one more time to enter the giveaway right now. I'm going to remind you what we're going to be giving away. We're going to be giving away this Nightwing from McFarlane Toys Digital right here, as well as this Joker. All you have to do is enter hashtag Gotham in the comments below. We're going to run this giveaway in 1 minute. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute. Also, Tails, this is going to go to you, as well as
Let's go.
is going to go to you as well. Please give us your ETH wallet. And my friend, final words to the audience right here. Let's go.
First of all, to you two, thanks for having me on. And yeah, again, I'm going to have to do some soppy weird thing here, but as a creator, you have to do it for yourself first, right? And then when other people enjoy it, that's a Brucey bonus. But there's always a bit of me when I'm like, I'm spending 4.5 months on a film. I know I'm enjoying the process, but is anybody else going to like and support? And to have that continued support from, really it's the VeVe community and starting to, spread further. But even though I'm not heavily involved with VeVe as I was, it's lovely to still have that support. And people, so just thank you, really. Just thanks.
Let's go. We appreciate
Yeah, that's
you,
awesome.
and V, close the show out.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Tails, for coming on and just sharing, everything that, well, I'm sure not everything, but a lot of what went into just creating and showing us this masterpiece. That's what I'm calling it. It's a masterpiece.
Thank you.
Can't wait for part 3, however many parts there are, and once this segment is done, I'm gonna go back and rewatch all of them one after another, and then it'll be like a whole long, awesome movie for myself. That's how I'm gonna look forward to it. And yeah, just keep on, what you're doing in the background. Just keep on doing it, even when you feel like, is anyone gonna watch it? You bet your ass you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna watch it. So I know, if even when you have some doubts of yourself, and just try and overlook that, because you have fans. Like, I'm one of your fans that look forward to what you, Mr. Falcon, and everyone that put in work to get this out, will be there to support you. And yeah, just thank you so much for coming on and just sharing all that with us today. And um, appreciate the audience, whoever's listening and watching. Thank you for coming on and supporting us, supporting Tales, all the creators, builders, just people just putting in their hard creativity out there for all of us to enjoy. That we may not be able to create what you're making, but we can at least take the time to enjoy it, for ourselves. And yeah, we just thank you for that.
No,
It's been
thank you.
awesome. It's been awesome.
Let's go.
Let's go, guys. And with that being said, good luck. This is for the Nightwing. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and good luck. And let's see who is going to win the first prize of
Yes.
today. Omar,
Oh,
let's go.
Omar.
Big congratulations to you,
Omar.
Omar. Message D with your wallet address, and we'll get that sent over to you.
Yep.
Don't forget, guys. Some of you guys have not given your wallet, so please message us the wallet. And one more, this is for the Joker. And once again, we appreciate everyone for tuning in every single time. And thank you so much, everyone. Let's see who's going to be the winner. Incorrigible Goat Slayer. These ears are for
What a
you.
name.
There you go. Big congrats. And Tails, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you just chopping it up with me. I love the fact that I can talk shop with you about this stuff. I can't nerd out about this stuff with a lot of people other than my wife, and she's sick of it. So
I'm not sick of it.
So this is.
I don't understand all of it, but I appreciate it.
No, it's just cool to talk to a creator that knows like the time and effort it takes to make things. At the end of the day, like, this is our passion, this is our craft, and we really try to like give our all into whatever we make, whether it's the film that Tales made or the stuff that you guys see on screen. And I love doing it. I can tell that you love it too, and so I appreciate you sharing this time with us to just chop it up and talk shop, because this was fucking amazing.
Anytime,
I loved it, man.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have to do it again. Like, this has been so easy and natural. I know we haven't spoken loads, like a few times in spaces, but I saw your guys' show. I was like, I need to come and speak to these two because they're just great. And again, I thank you for letting me, promote myself, I guess, and promote the film and nerd out. So yeah, and I know anytime. I don't know if you get any free baby time, just call me, bro. We could talk films. We could talk Battlestar.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Oh my gosh! Like, you're gonna regret saying that. There's a term I say here called Portuguese. It's called Portuguese. I talk too much, and the people that met me in Vegas know this. They ran away, but like, I can nerd out for hours. I spent, what was it, 6 hours with Chris?
Yep.
And then I think also, no, that was like on camera, 6 hours with Chris. And then we met Chris in Maui. And I think it was a good almost 24 hours we were with the guy. And like, we just couldn't shut up. So like, but that's the level of like nerdum that comes out of me, and just basically to talk shop. So I appreciate your time. And we have an open door policy here, Tales. If you ever want to come back on, if you ever hear a topic that we're talking about, if we got movies that we're talking about, you're always welcome to come on.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. Nice one.
All right, guys. Well,
awesome.
That has been the show. Thank you so much to the audience. I see you all there. I'm sorry if I did not get to the comments enough, but we will be back next week. You guys already know, and we'll catch you guys later. Until the next time, take care and aloha.